October 15, 1946. Nuremberg. Cell block C. A man sits on the edge of a cot eating black bread. I watched him sometimes. Through the slot. He never looked afraid. Not once. In 2 hours, the International Military Tribunal will sentence Hermann Wilhelm Göring. Everyone in courtroom 600 already knows the verdict. Göring knows. The guards know. And yet? Ask the real question. Not what the verdict was. What power does a condemned man actually hold? 3 feet from where Göring sits, hidden inside a tin of pomade, tucked quietly among his belongings, is a brass-jacketed cyanide capsule. It has been there for 11 months. Through 100 body searches. Through the entire trial. The Allies believe they control his fate completely. They do not. Soldier, he came into custody weighing 320 pounds, addicted to morphine for 20 years. They stripped all of it away. Cold turkey. No taper. And what came back out was sharper than anyone expected. The question this story keeps returning to, the one Nuremberg itself could never fully answer, is this: when a system is designed to break a man, what happens when the man refuses? If you found yourself drawn to moments where power flips without warning, stay with us. What you're about to hear changes how you see this trial entirely. May 1945. American forces take Göring into custody at his Bavarian estate. He arrives carrying a personal cosmetics case, wearing powder blue, expecting to negotiate terms. He expected to be treated as a head of state. That tells you everything about his internal model of reality. They force withdrawal. Nothing. No taper. The man who consumed roughly 100 morphine tablets a day is reduced to his baseline. He loses 60 pounds in 3 months. His IQ tests at 138, highest among all defendants. As the Allies begin constructing the International Military Tribunal, Göring makes his assessment. For prosecuting nations. For separate agendas. Americans want due process. British want procedural dignity. Soviets want propaganda. French want revenge dressed as law. Find the contradictions, and you can exploit them. By October 1945, 2 months before the trial begins, Göring has established informal dominance among the defendants. He sits in seat 1. Runs lunch conversations. Coaches younger men on courtroom behavior. The guards call it Göring's cabinet. November 20, 1945. Opening day. 21 defendants. For nations. 8 judges. IBM translation equipment routing simultaneous interpretation in 4 languages, never done at this scale. But Göring identifies the structural flaw almost immediately. The Allies are prosecuting crimes against peace and crimes against humanity, concepts that did not formally exist when the alleged crimes occurred. Retroactive law. Chief Prosecutor Robert Jackson acknowledges this in his opening statement. He pivots. He says the real complainant is civilization itself. He is arguing philosophy, not law. And Göring hears this through his headphones, and smiles. Because Jackson just opened a door. If this is civilization versus barbarism, then every nation in that room committed barbarism. Dresden. Hiroshima. Soviet occupation of Poland. Can you prosecute total war when total war was the strategy everyone used? The scale of what the Allies build around Göring is staggering. 403 court sessions. 113,000 captured documents. 240,000 feet of film footage. The English transcript alone reaches 17,000 pages. In his cell, a cot, a toilet, a small table, and an ever-growing stack of legal briefs. They gave him pencils. Not pens. Suicide precaution. A spotlight shone on his face all night. But comprehensive documentation requires comprehensive testimony. And testimony means Göring gets to speak. How much truth can a show trial tolerate before it stops being a show? March 13, 1946. Robert Jackson makes his first strategic error. He decides to cross-examine Göring personally. Jackson was a Supreme Court justice. He had watched Göring for 4 months from across that courtroom. He believed he understood what he was looking at. What Jackson doesn't understand is that Göring has spent 17 years in rooms with Hitler, Himmler, and Goebbels. He negotiated in Moscow. He stood in the Reichstag and announced wars. He lied to Churchill's face in 1937 and was believed. The cross-examination begins at 10:47 a.m. Jackson's strategy, document-based. Confront Göring with his own words. Force admission through paper trails. But Göring deploys a single counter, context. Every quote Jackson presents, Göring surrounds with historical framing. The Reichstag fire, communist threat requiring emergency response. Rearmament, Versailles created the conditions. Austrian annexation, the people wanted unification, here are the referendum numbers. Jackson starts interrupting. Requesting yes or no answers. The Soviet judge rules that defendants have the right to explain their responses. It's written into the charter itself. Each question becomes a 3-minute speech. The prosecutor begins to look like he's losing control of his own trial. This is the moment the whole architecture shifts, and where it goes next is what no one predicted. If the story hasn't unsettled you yet, it's about to. By March 20th, Jackson ends the cross-examination early. For days. Not one damning admission. The New York Times headline, Göring holds his own. British prosecutor Sir David Maxwell Fyfe reads those dispatches. He studies the transcripts. And he sees what Jackson missed. You cannot beat Göring on ideology. You beat him on specifics he cannot contextualize. Not policy. Not strategy. Individual murder. Maxwell Fyfe does not raise his voice. He does not need to. March 1944. Stalag Luft 3. 76 Allied airmen escape through a 336-foot tunnel dug over 11 months. 73 are recaptured within days. Standard protocol under the Geneva Convention, return to camp, solitary confinement. Instead, 50 of them were shot. Not in combat. Not during recapture. After. On direct orders from Berlin. Communicated through Luftwaffe communication networks. Göring's command structure. Maxwell Fyfe asks, "Did you know about this order?" Göring replies that he learned of it afterward. Maxwell Fyfe does not pause. "It went through your communication systems. Your staff officers. Your Luftwaffe command chain. You were Reichsmarschall. These were airmen under your authority. And you did nothing." The courtroom goes quiet. Maxwell Fyfe isn't asking about ideology or Versailles. He's asking about command responsibility. And command responsibility doesn't have a philosophical escape hatch. Can you contextualize a firing squad? That evening, Göring returns to his cell and does not eat dinner. The spotlight for Suicide Watch illuminates a face that looks, for the first time, cornered. Psychologist Gustav Gilbert visits. When he asks about the day's testimony, Göring says only, "They're trying to make me personally responsible for everything, as if I pulled every trigger myself." Gilbert writes in his notes, Göring is beginning to realize that following orders and commanding forces occupy the same legal territory. October 1, 1946. The Tribunal reconvenes. 17,000 pages reviewed. 216 hours of deliberation. Guilty on all 4 counts. Death by hanging. When Lawrence reads the final words, Göring replaces his headphones and sits down. His expression doesn't change. But his hands are trembling. He requests a meeting on October 7 to negotiate his execution method. Death by hanging, he argues, is dishonorable for a military officer. He cites precedent. Military tradition. He builds a legal argument for dignity. The tribunal denies it in 4 sentences. But Göring had already stopped negotiating with the Allies. He was negotiating with history. He has 72 hours to control his exit. October 15, 10:44 p.m. Göring bites down on the capsule hidden for 11 months in a pomade tin that survived hundreds of searches. His heart stops at 10:47. The execution is scheduled for 1 a.m. The gallows are assembled. Photographers positioned. The entire apparatus of state justice nullified by a compound smaller than a pill. He left 2 letters. One to his wife. One to the prison commandant. The second one said, "I would have let you hang me. But Germany's honor required that I deny you the satisfaction. I have cheated the hangman. The photographs that circulate show 10 hanged men and 1 dead man on a cot. That distinction is small, and it is everything. Nuremberg established international criminal law, set precedent for tribunals in Yugoslavia, Rwanda, and The Hague. A framework where heads of state answer for atrocities, where following orders provides no sanctuary. But Göring's final act reveals the limit of every system. You can control outcomes, enforce verdicts, document guilt with mathematical precision. You cannot force someone to accept the narrative you've written for them. What broke him wasn't the evidence or the verdict. It was Maxwell Fyfe making him personally complicit in something he couldn't reframe as statecraft. 50 names, 50 families, 50 bodies with his command chain running directly to them. The Allies hanged 10 men that night. They cremated and scattered 11. One of them chose his ending. The gap between justice and control erodes, persists, and remains. What that gap means for the history we keep writing is a question this courtroom never fully answered.